Hello, it's Roz, and I'm here on Tuesday to do a quick Tuesday tag. This tag was started by Brian at Bookish on Saturday in his lovely Saturday hodgepodge, which I'm sure you will watch. And he went out on Saturday and was shocked by the number of people in the town in Texas where he lives who were not cooperating with wearing masks. So this is he said, let's have a wear a mask tag and get it out there on BookTube, just reminding everybody to get on and wear masks. And I'm happy to get behind that. This mask that I'm wearing right now is what we call an FP3 in the UK. I don't know if it's the same elsewhere. And this is the mask that Tilly Shelf, my daughter, she wears ones like this to do 12-hour shifts at the hospital. So if she can do that, then I think the rest of us can manage to wear one regularly. I'll take it off now because it's probably muffling my words a bit. I'm sure you all wear masks, but it is really, really surprising how many people are strangely resistant to it. Here in the UK, the mask wearing sort of expectation is not that you wear it when you're sort of very much in big open space, but that if you're going into public spaces where you're close together, like shops and cinemas, or like anywhere where you're even though you're socially distanced, you're more in close proximity with other people, that you should wear one. And it doesn't have to be one like this. It can be a simple face covering, one of these little disposable ones. They're not really disposable, they create rubbish, don't they? So reusable is better. And it's so doable, and yet some people have really got so pig-headed about it. It's not perfect, it's not going to protect everybody, but it will make a difference. My brother-in-law works in a shop, and I'm truly appalled on his behalf by the number of people who refuse to wear a mask coming into the shop. And that may be all well and good for them, but if you work there, you've got people coming through all the time, and a big proportion of those refuse to wear a mask. That's really increasing your vulnerability. So it is, Brian is so right. It's unacceptable, and we all need to be kind of helping establish that expectation with the people around us. Yeah, amazing how much abuse people who work in shops in particular are getting at the moment about if they attempt in any way to enforce mask wearing, which it's just, why people, why do that? Anyway, Brian's tag has 3 simple questions, so this is a nice quick one, and they all kind of link with the wear a mask tag theme. So it's 3 books that you like, one in which a character wears a mask. Well, there was only one that it could be for me for this, and that's Zorro by Isabel Allende. Now then, Zorro kind of started life in some sort of dime novel, I believe, and then was like a Disney character. There was a TV program. So Zorro did not start in Isabel Allende's novel. On the contrary, it's really curious kind of way of this book coming to be written, that basically the person who kind of owned the rights to the character and the name John Gertz, it was Gertz's father in 1920 who bought the rights to the Zorro character from the author of the original dime novel, and together with Disney he developed the multiple incarnations of the Masked Man TV series, comic book, feature film, before Gertz Jr. bought back the rights. So they asked Isabel Allende, highly respected, Latin American or Chilean originally author, to write a serious novel to give the backstory to this completely fictional character, as if he were a real historical figure. And initially she said, why are you asking me? And is this beneath my dignity? But then she got caught up with the appeal of the idea, and she wrote this book. It's not her best book ever, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like a swashbuckling book. It's in the sort of I don't know, Three Musketeers sort of territory. And look, it starts with a map. And you know how I like a book that's got a map in it. Yeah. And it creates a whole kind of backstory where Zorro starts life in the States, and then he uh, goes over to Spain and then comes back to California, and it's loads of fun. She just obviously had a real scream writing it. It's a bit, well, it's not a young adult novel, but it's a novel that would appeal to a teenage reader, and I know Tilly enjoyed it when she read it at that sort of age. So good fun. And Zorro is, he's like, would there be Batman if you hadn't first had Zorro? Yeah. So, more serious choice for the second one. The second prompt is a character that conceals something about themselves, and lots of characters do that in lots of books. I mean, lots of the best books, people never, don't just reveal everything about themselves, do they? But the one that sprung to mind was Ovid's Metamorphoses, because obviously that's full of people. Turning out to be something other than they are, or being converted into something else, or hiding something. And actually, the version of that I have really enjoyed is Ted Hughes' Tales from Ovid. So I think there's a really interesting thing about translations of older works, and whether you kind of try and reproduce something in English that sounds like Ovid would have sounded in Latin, or whether you go for writing something that is sort of captures the spirit but is a work in its own right. And I guess this is the latter variety. And the one that kind of I was thinking of when I picked this book is the story of Callisto, because it's one of the many kind of Greek myth stories where Zeus or Jupiter or Jove, as he is in this, because of course it's the Latin author, Roman author, conceals his identity in order to either seduce or rape a human or a nymph or whatever, and that's what happens to Callisto, and then Juno, Jupiter's wife, like punishes her for it horribly, which is so unfair, isn't it? But also kind of like scarily true, isn't it? That often it's the victims of men that then end up being blamed. So character conceals their identity or something about themselves. And then the third prompt was a character who wears something protective on their head. And I was struggling a bit with this one. Then I remembered this book. Okay. And this is called It's Paper by Bahiyyih Nakhjavani. And she is Iranian author by origin, but then lived in, I think, the UK and now France. So she writes in both. She writes in Iranian and English and French. One of those scarily kind of multilingual, multi-talented, rather brilliant women. And the protective headgear in this case is your kind of a classic kind of Central Asian turban, I guess you'd call it, and it's probably a better word, isn't it? It's probably a specific word. And this book is now, this one came out around the same time as Zorro, actually, around September 2005, I think, maybe 2004. And it's a book about paper. No, it's a book about a kind of Central Asian character who's described as the scribe, who wants to write his masterpiece and feels that in order to do that he has to find the perfect paper to write it on. And it's kind of like playing around with the history of paper making, and with the kind of Central Asian sort of frontier culture. It's very distinctively written. She has this very kind of calm, detached way of writing, and all the characters, rather than having names, they have they're like the warden, the scribe, the grandmother, the mullah, the yeah, the widow. They're all they're all the warden's daughter. Yeah, which is a bit distancing, but it's also, yeah, there's something quite beautiful about it. So it's one of those odd books, and I like an odd book. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. So that's my 3 books. Wear a mask, and this is one of those very like open-ended. Please, everybody, do this, and just like use it to remind ourselves to stand up for the need to wear masks to protect each other, and particularly people like shop workers who don't have a choice about how socially distanced they get to be. So the rest of us should jolly well protect them by wearing masks as we should. Thanks, everyone.